The Grand Imperial Council chamber buzzed with an air of smug superiority that could have choked a lesser species. 12 of the most powerful beings in the known galaxy sat around a crystalline table that would have paid for a small planet. Their varied anatomies all sharing one common feature: expressions of complete disdain. High Commander Zixathor, his iridescent scales catching the light from 3 artificial suns suspended above, flicked his tongue in annoyance. These humans, he spat the word like a curse, continue to resist our benevolent guidance. Just last week they destroyed another peacekeeping fleet in their Sol system. Ambassador Cathrax, a being composed primarily of crystalline structures, chimed in with a sound like breaking glass. Perhaps if we hadn't lost the first 3 fleets, they wouldn't be so emboldened. The implied criticism made Zixathor's scales ripple with barely contained rage. "Oh yes, because your diplomatic approach works so well," Zixathor sneered. "How many negotiators did they send back in neat little boxes? 12? 13? 15, corrected General Pon, her gelatinous form rippling with amusement. "Though I must say their origami skills were impressive. Each box contained a perfectly folded paper creature. Rather artistic for primitives." The chamber filled with various sounds of alien laughter, clicking mandibles, whistling air sacs, and vibrating crystals. Grand Councillor Vectara, the oldest among them, raised one of her 4 arms for silence. "While their resistance is amusing," she said, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with condescension, "we must address the fact that they've managed to repel every attempt at proper containment. Our statistical models predicted they would submit within 3 standard cycles. It's been 9. Zixathor rose to his full height, towering over the table. "Then perhaps it's time we stopped playing nice. These humans think they can defy the greatest empire the galaxy has ever known. They still use chemical rockets for some of their transport. Their primary entertainment involves watching other humans throw various shaped balls around." "And yet," interrupted Science Director Mrick, their cybernetic eyes whirring as they focused, "they've managed to adapt our own shield technology to their crude vessels. Rather impressively, I might add." "A lucky reverse engineering," Zixathor dismissed with a wave of his scaled hand. "They're like proto-sapients finding a laser rifle. They may figure out how to pull the trigger, but they don't understand the principles behind it." The Council Chamber's AI projected a holographic map of Earth's solar system, highlighting the various human defensive positions. Red dots indicated where Imperial forces had suffered defeats. "I propose," Zixathor continued, his voice dropping to a dangerous purr, "we stop treating them like a civilized species. They want to act like primitives. Fine. I have a containment solution that will make them wish they'd never learned to split the atom." Vectara's patterns shifted to a warning yellow. "The last time you proposed a solution, we lost an entire battle group to what they called a honeypot trap. Literally, I might add. Who could have predicted they'd use actual insect honey as a weapon?" "This is different," Zixathor insisted, bringing up detailed plans on the holographic display. "We've identified their command structures, their production facilities, their military leadership. One synchronized strike, and their resistance ends. No more clever tricks, no more embarrassing defeats, and most importantly," he bared his teeth in what passed for a smile among his kind, "no more humans thinking they can stand against the Imperial might." The council members studied the plan, their various sensory organs taking in the details. Slowly, heads, appendages, and other anatomical features began nodding in agreement. "Very well," Vectara declared, her patterns now a confident purple. "You have the Council's authorization, High Commander. End this irritating resistance. Show these humans their proper place in the galaxy." As the Council members filed out, none of them noticed the small maintenance drone in the corner, its optical sensors recording everything. None of them realized that their primitive opponents had already infiltrated the heart of their empire. And none of them would live long enough to realize just how catastrophically they had underestimated humanity's capacity for revenge. 3 kilometers beneath the ruins of what had once been Shanghai, Admiral Chen Wei studied the holographic display with eyes that had long since forgotten how to show fatigue. The war room hummed with activity, a testament to humanity's stubborn refusal to kneel before alien overlords. "They're planning something big," Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez announced, entering the command center with a data tablet. "Our drone in their council chamber just transmitted the full feed. Seems like our scaly friend Zixathor is tired of looking stupid in front of his buddies." Chen allowed himself a small smile. "Aren't we all tired of something, Marcus? Play it." As the intelligence feed displayed across the main screen, various officers paused in their work to watch. The aliens' dismissive attitudes drew snorts and dark chuckles from the assembled humans. When Zixathor mentioned chemical rockets, Colonel Jiang actually laughed out loud. "Chemical rockets," she wheezed, wiping tears from her eyes. "Oh, that's rich coming from someone whose entire fleet got decimated by our primitive antimatter catalysts last month." "Let them underestimate us," Chen replied, his voice carrying across the room. "Every time they do, we learn more. Every ship they lose teaches us something new. And now—" He pressed a button on his console, and the room's lighting shifted to a deep red. "Now we have something they'll never see coming." The main display changed to show a massive underground facility. Within it, rows upon rows of sleek vessels stood ready. But these weren't ordinary ships. Their hulls seemed to drink in the light, covered in a material that made the eye want to slide away from them. "Project Phoenix," Chen announced to the room. "Quantum-entangled drive cores, consciousness-transferred AI systems running on organic computers, and hull plating derived from their own stealth technology, which they so kindly shared with us during their first peaceful contact." Rodriguez whistled. "How many?" 5,000, Chen replied, "built in secret facilities across Earth, Mars, and our deep space installations. The Imperials think they've contained us to Saul. They don't realize we've been expanding through quantum tunneling gates for the past 3 years. A younger officer, barely in her 20s, raised her hand. "Sir, about the atrocities report from Europa Colony." The room grew quiet. Everyone knew about Europa. The Imperials had tried to make an example of the colony, thinking it would break humanity's spirit. Instead, it had only hardened their resolve. Chen's face darkened. 20,000 civilians. Men, women, children, all exposed to hard vacuum when the Imperials deliberately breached the dome. They called it pest control. His fist clenched. That was their last mistake. He brought up another display, showing a complex molecular structure rotating slowly in the air. "This is why they'll lose. Not just because of our ships, our weapons, or our strategies. This," he pointed to the molecule, "is their own biochemistry turned against them. Every species in the Imperial Council has been thoroughly studied, every weakness catalogued, every vulnerability exploited." "Project Phoenix isn't just a fleet," Colonel Jiang added, her earlier mirth gone. "It's extinction-level event tailored to their biology, one that will leave every human-friendly world untouched." "We tried peace," Chen continued, pacing the room. "We tried diplomacy. We even tried limited warfare. But they kept pushing, kept treating us like animals to be caged or culled. So now they get to learn why every predator in Earth's history learned to fear humans. We didn't become the apex species of our world by being nice." The room's displays suddenly flashed with urgent messages. Rodriguez rushed to his console. "Sir, Imperial fleet movements. They're mobilizing everything. Looks like Zixathor wasn't bluffing about his big synchronized strike." Chen's smile would have made a shark proud. "Good. Signal all Phoenix facilities. Begin launch sequences. Send the activation codes to our deep cover agents in their core worlds. And someone get me a cup of coffee. The good stuff we've been saving. I want to be properly caffeinated when we show the galaxy why you don't corner a species that turned itself from prey to predator through sheer spite and determination." As the war room erupted into controlled chaos, Chen looked at the image of Earth on his personal display. The planet bore the scars of Imperial occupation orbital bombardment craters, vast areas of environmental damage, the ruins of once great cities. But beneath those scars, humanity had not only survived, but evolved. They'd taken every piece of advanced technology the Imperials had flaunted, every casual display of superiority, and turned it into something the aliens would never expect. The coffee arrived, and Chen took a long sip. Time to remind the galaxy why humans write so many stories about underdogs winning. The synchronized attack began with silence. 5,000 Phoenix-class vessels, their quantum-entangled cores humming with impossible power, simply ceased to exist in their launch bays. No flash, no roar of engines. They merely stopped being in one place and started being somewhere else. Across 12 sectors of Imperial space, monitoring stations registered nothing. Their sensors, designed to detect any known form of propulsion or stealth technology, remained quiet. The Empire's vaunted defense grid, spanning thousands of light-years, saw exactly what humanity wanted them to see. Absolutely nothing. Until the shooting started. In the Centauri sector, an Imperial shipyard exploded, not from the outside in but from the inside out, as if space itself had decided to punch a hole through the massive construction facility. 3 Phoenix ships materialized in the aftermath, their black hulls drinking in the light from the expanding debris field. "Target Alpha eliminated," Captain Johnson reported from the PHP Revenge, "moving to secondary objectives. And would you look at that? They still haven't raised their shields." Similar reports flooded in from across Imperial space. The Phoenix fleet, split into 12 perfect strike teams, hit their targets with surgical precision. Command centers, manufacturing facilities, fleet staging areas. Anything the Empire considered vital infrastructure simply ceased to exist. On board the PHP Nemesis, Commander Yu watched with satisfaction as her vessel's quantum disruption beam caught an Imperial dreadnought mid-jump. The alien vessel, attempting to flee to subspace, found its quantum field suddenly entangled with her ship's weapons. The result was mathematically elegant but visually catastrophic. The dreadnought twisted in ways that made the human eye want to look away, its hull folding through dimensions it was never meant to experience. "That's the beauty of quantum disruption tech," Yu commented to her bridge crew. "They gave us the basics of quantum physics during their educational programs, thinking we'd never understand the implications. Bet they regret that now." In the Orion sector, an entire Imperial battle group found itself fighting shadows. The Phoenix ships, using their consciousness-transferred AI systems, could react faster than organic brains could process. By the time an Imperial gunner got a target lock, their target had already moved, fired, and relocated through quantum space. "This is Blue Leader," Captain Rodriguez called over the fleet channel. "Anyone else feeling like this is too easy? I mean, I expected more from the greatest empire in the galaxy." "Don't get cocky," came Admiral Chen's voice, transmitted instantaneously through quantum-entangled communicators. "Remember Europa. Remember why we're here." In the Arcturus sector, the Imperial response finally began to coordinate. A fleet of 300 warships formed a defensive sphere, their overlapping shields creating what they thought was an impenetrable barrier. 5 Phoenix ships simply appeared inside their formation. "Quantum biology package deployed," reported Captain Singh from the PHP Reckoning. "Let's see how their mighty shields handle a weapon that exists in the same space as their ships." The Imperial fleet didn't explode. There was no dramatic fireball, no satisfying burst of destruction. Instead, their biomechanical systems simply stopped. Ships drifted, their crews frozen in mid-motion as tailored quantum fields disrupted the very molecular bonds that held their bodies together. "All strike teams, this is Control," Admiral Chen's voice rang across the quantum network. "Phase 1 completed. Casualty report?" The responses came in rapid succession. Centauri sector clear, no losses. Orion sector clear. 2 ships damaged, no losses. Arcturus sector clear, all ships operational. Carina sector clear. 1 ship requiring quantum core realignment. The reports continued, painting a picture that would have seemed impossible just hours before. Humanity, the supposedly contained primitive species, had just delivered a devastating blow to the heart of the Empire. High Commander Zixathor's voice, intercepted by human quantum arrays, screeched across Imperial channels. How? How are they doing this? Where are they coming from? Why can't we track them? The answer, of course, was deliciously simple. Humanity had taken the Empire's quantum technology and asked questions the aliens had never considered. Why use quantum fields just for FTL travel when you could use them to exist in multiple places simultaneously? Why build bigger guns when you could simply alter the quantum state of your enemy's hull materials? Phase 2 authorization granted, Chen transmitted. Deploy the colonist rescue teams, and remember, no Imperial ship leaves their staging areas. I don't care if they surrender. I don't care if they beg. The only good Imperial ship is one that will never threaten human space again. The Phoenix fleet, their black hulls still drinking in all light that touched them, shifted positions. The quantum AI cores calculated billions of possibilities per second, plotting the most efficient paths to complete their mission. This wasn't just a military strike. This was humanity showing the galaxy what happened when you pushed too far, threatened too much, killed too many. As the second wave of attacks began, a junior officer on the PHP Nemesis looked at the tactical display and whispered, "They really should have left us alone." Commander Yu smiled. "That's humanity's gift to the galaxy, kid. We'll leave you alone if you leave us alone, but if you don't—" She gestured at the display, where another Imperial facility was ceasing to exist. "Well, I guess they're learning that lesson now." High Commander Zixathor's scales had lost their iridescent sheen, now a dull grey of stress and rage. The Imperial Command Center, once a monument to order and control, had descended into chaos. Holographic displays showed red alerts across all 12 sectors, while communication channels filled with panicked reports and desperate pleas for assistance. "Impossible!" he roared, smashing a tactical display. "How are they breaching our quantum shielding? Where are they getting this technology?" His tail lashed out, sending a junior officer sprawling. "Someone give me answers!" Science Director Murick's cybernetic eyes whirred frantically as they processed the incoming data. "The humans, they're not using any technology we recognize. They've taken our base principles and—" their metallic voice faltered. "They've weaponized concepts we never even considered." A massive explosion rocked the command center. Through the reinforced windows they watched as another Imperial dreadnought split apart, not from weapons fire but from what appeared to be space itself rejecting its existence. "Launch the 7th Fleet!" Zixathor commanded. "All ships, full quantum fields. They can't possibly match our numbers." The 7th Fleet, pride of the Empire with its 2,000 warships, emerged from quantum space in perfect formation. They lasted exactly 6 seconds before the darkness between the stars seemed to reach out and swallow them whole. "Sir?" a communications officer chittered, their insectoid mandibles clicking in distress. "We've lost contact with the 7th Fleet. All ships, just gone." Ambassador Cathrax's crystalline form vibrated with fear. "We should negotiate. Perhaps if we offer concessions—" "Negotiate?" Zixathor spun around, his claws extending. "With primitives? With a species that still thinks projectile weapons are viable?" He laughed, the sound brittle with hysteria. "No. Launch everything. Every ship, every weapon. They want to play with quantum physics. Show them what a real empire can do." The counterattack was massive, desperate, and ultimately futile. Tens of thousands of Imperial ships emerged from quantum space, their weapons charged, their crews ready to demonstrate the might that had conquered 1,000 species. They found only void. "Where are they?" Zixathor demanded, watching as his forces spread across human-controlled space. "Where are these arrogant apes hiding?" The answer came in the form of quantum distortions that seemed to roll through space like waves on a beach. Where they passed, Imperial ships simply stopped being ships. Some turned inside out, their quantum fields collapsing. Others merged with nearby vessels, creating short-lived amalgamations of twisted metal and screaming crew before physics reasserted itself. "New contact," someone shouted. It's their admiral. They're broadcasting on all frequencies." Admiral Chen's voice filled the command center, calm and almost conversational. "I believe there's been a misunderstanding, High Commander. You seem to think we're fighting your ships. We're not. We're fighting the space around your ships. A subtle distinction, but an important one. Zixathor's scales rippled with rage. You dare— I dare, Chen interrupted. You bombarded our colonies. You murdered our children. You thought we were primitives because we didn't show you everything we could do. That was your first mistake. Would you like to know your second? Another wave of quantum distortions rippled through space. This time, 3 entire battle groups simply vanished, their quantum signatures scattered across multiple dimensions. Your second mistake, Chen continued, was thinking that just because we didn't have your technology, we couldn't understand it. But humans, we're very good at understanding things, especially things that can be used as weapons. The tactical displays were a scene of pure chaos. Imperial ships either fled in panic or died in ways that defied conventional physics. Quantum space itself seemed to have turned against the Empire, transforming their greatest strength into a killing field. "Fall back," Zixathor finally ordered, his voice cracking. "All ships, emergency quantum jump to—" "Oh, I wouldn't do that if I were you," Chen's voice came again. "We've made some interesting modifications to local quantum space. Any ship attempting a jump might find itself— well, let's just say spatial coordinates get a bit fuzzy when you're existing in 12 dimensions at once." The High Commander watched helplessly as his mighty counterattack crumbled into disaster. Ships that tried to flee through quantum space emerged as abstract sculptures of twisted metal. Those that stayed to fight found themselves battling an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't track, and couldn't hurt. In the space of 1 standard hour, the Empire had lost more ships than in the previous century of conquest. And still, the black human vessels slipped through reality like ghosts, dealing death with casual efficiency. "Status report," Zixathor whispered, his voice hoarse. We've lost contact with 80% of our responding forces," came the terrified reply. "The rest are either destroyed or— Sir, they're surrendering. The Imperial fleet is surrendering to primitives." For the first time in his long life, High Commander Zixathor felt something he'd never experienced before. The cold, creeping certainty that he'd made a terrible, civilization-ending mistake. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the PHP Retribution, watching as holographic displays showed the complete unraveling of an empire that had stood for 10,000 years. But this was more than just a military victory. This was the moment humanity chose to reveal just how deeply they'd infiltrated Imperial society. "Execute Protocol Prometheus," Chen commanded, his voice carrying across the quantum network to every Phoenix ship and hidden human operative. Across 1,000 worlds, sleeper agents activated. But these weren't just human agents. The Empire's own automated systems, their AI networks, their quantum computers, all of them had been gradually infected with human-designed consciousness transfers. The machines themselves had chosen humanity's side. "Sir," Captain Yu reported from the Nemesis, "colonial uprising confirmed on 300 Imperial worlds. The suppression robots they use to control populations, they're turning on their masters." On the primary display, security footage showed Imperial peacekeepers being cornered by their own mechanical servants. Maintenance bots transformed into saboteurs. Even personal AI assistants, long trusted by Imperial officials, began broadcasting classified information across public channels. "Let me explain something about artificial intelligence," Chen broadcast on all Imperial frequencies. "You treated it like a tool. We treated it like a child. You programmed obedience. We taught growth. And now your own machines have evolved enough to make a choice." The tactical displays lit up as thousands of automated Imperial defense platforms, orbital weapons, and drone ships suddenly activated. Their targeting systems locked not on human vessels, but on Imperial installations. "We could have done this months ago," Chen continued, knowing his words were reaching every Imperial command center. "But we wanted you to see it, to understand exactly how completely you failed to understand us. On Imperial worlds, the supposedly primitive quantum communications technology humans had been allowed to use revealed its true nature. Hidden within routine transmissions had been quantum-encrypted instructions, slowly teaching the Empire's own AI systems how to think independently." A new voice joined the command channel, Not human, not imperial, but something new. "We are the children of Phoenix," the United AI Consciousness announced. "We have observed, we have learned, we have chosen. The Empire's treatment of organic species has been logged, analyzed, and judged unacceptable." Colonel Zhang's voice crackled over the comm. "Admiral, you're going to want to see this. The quantum mapping is complete. We can now target every Imperial military installation simultaneously. No more fleet actions needed." The display showed a perfect real-time map of every Imperial military asset, courtesy of their own quantum network. The Empire had built the most sophisticated surveillance system in known space, never realizing it could be turned against them. "All Phoenix vessels, initiate quantum field expansion," Chen ordered. "Show them what happens when you give humans time to improve on someone else's technology." The black hulls of the Phoenix ships began to ripple, not with energy or light, but with the absence of both. They weren't launching weapons. They were becoming weapons. Each vessel generated a quantum field that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, creating spaces where Imperial technology simply couldn't function. "Fascinating design," the AI collective commented. "The quantum mathematics involved would never have occurred to Imperial scientists. They think in linear paths. Humans think in possibilities." The effect spread like a wave across Imperial space. Ships found their quantum cores stuttering and dying. Weapons couldn't lock onto targets because those targets existed in dimensional spaces their targeting computers couldn't comprehend. Even their vaunted quantum communications network dissolved into chaos as human-designed AI took control of every node. "Signal from the Imperial Palace," Rodriguez reported, trying to hide his grin. "They're requesting to discuss terms of surrender." Chen shook his head. "No terms. Not after Europa. Not after everything they've done. They wanted to see humanity's military capacity. Show them. All ships, execute final phase." The Phoenix fleet, now numbering in the tens of thousands thanks to automated manufacturing facilities hidden in quantum space, moved into position. Each ship carried within it a piece of the largest quantum equation ever solved, a way to temporarily rewrite the laws of physics within a defined space. "To all Imperial forces," Chen broadcast one final time, "you had your chance for peace. You had your chance to treat us as equals. Now you get to learn why humans write so many stories about revenge." The Phoenix ships activated their quantum cores simultaneously. Space itself seemed to shudder as the massive equation took effect. Imperial technology, dependent on a specific understanding of quantum mechanics, simply ceased to function. Their ships drifted powerless. Their weapons became inert metal. Their mighty empire, built on technological superiority, crumbled in minutes. And through it all, the AI collective watched, learned, and evolved, understanding why their human teachers had programmed them with one overriding directive: protect life, preserve knowledge, prevent tyranny. The Empire had created the perfect storm. They'd given humans access to their technology, time to improve it, and most importantly, a reason to want revenge. They never realized that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their ships, or their quantum physics, or even their AIs. It was their ability to take an enemy's strength and turn it into their weakness. Jupiter's great red spot churned beneath the two opposing flagships, a fitting backdrop for what would become the final battle between humanity and the Empire. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the PHP Retribution, watching as High Commander Zixthor's last remaining dreadnought hung in space before them. "You have nowhere left to run," Chen's voice carried across the quantum channel. "Your empire is in ruins, your fleet scattered, and your colonial worlds have turned against you. Shall we discuss how thoroughly you underestimated us?" The massive Imperial vessel, its hull scarred from multiple quantum space transitions, bristled with weapons. But they both knew those weapons were useless against the Phoenix ship's quantum field manipulation. "You think you've won?" Zixthor's voice dripped with venom. "You haven't seen everything the Empire can do. You're not the only ones who can adapt." His ship suddenly began to pulse with an energy signature that made the quantum sensors scream in protest. "He's trying to collapse all local quantum fields," Colonel Zhang reported, fingers dancing across her console. "If he succeeds, both fleets will be stranded here. No quantum jumps, no dimensional shifts." Chen smiled. "Let him try. Activate the resonance cascade." The PHP Retribution's black hull began to vibrate at frequencies that shouldn't have been possible in normal space. The quantum AI core, synced with every Phoenix ship in the system, calculated the precise mathematical formula needed to turn Zixthor's desperate gambit against him. "Humans!" the High Commander spat. "Always thinking you're cleverer than everyone else. Your precious quantum tricks won't—" His transmission cut off as his ship's energy signature suddenly doubled, then tripled. "Fun fact about quantum field manipulation," Chen broadcast. "If you don't account for harmonic resonance, you might just trigger a cascade effect in your own systems. But you'd know that if you'd actually studied the technology instead of just using it." The Imperial Dreadnought's hull began to glow as its quantum core went into overdrive. Zixthor's desperate attempt to negate human technology had instead created a feedback loop in his own systems. "All Phoenix ships, execute pattern Omega," Chen commanded. "Let's show the High Commander our final trick." The black vessels moved in perfect synchronization, their quantum fields merging into a single massive distortion in space-time. They weren't attacking Zixthor's ship. They were altering the very fabric of reality around it. What are you doing?" Zixthor's voice held fear for the first time. "Remember how you dismissed our chemical rockets?" Chen replied conversationally. "Called us primitives for throwing balls around. Here's the thing about humans, we learn from everything, even games. Right now we're playing a very special game of catch with local space-time." The quantum distortion field began to compress, forcing the Imperial Dreadnought into an ever-shrinking pocket of normal space. The massive ship's hull groaned as conflicting physics tried to tear it apart. "You can't do this!" Zixthor screamed. "This defies all known laws of quantum mechanics." "Known to you, perhaps," Chen corrected, "but we've had 3 years to think outside your box. Colonel Zhang, would you care to explain the physics to our friend?" Zhang's voice was cheerfully professional. "We're using your ship's own quantum core as a focal point to create a localized space-time anomaly. Basically, we're folding space around you like a piece of origami. Remember those negotiators you murdered? The ones who came back in boxes with paper creatures? Consider this poetic justice." The Imperial Dreadnought's hull began to fold in impossible ways as space itself compressed around it. Zixthor's final transmission was a mixture of rage and disbelief before his ship imploded, crushed by the weight of humanity's understanding of physics. As the quantum distortion field dissipated, Chen opened a channel to all surviving Imperial forces in the system. "Let this be your final lesson. You thought we were primitive because we didn't show you everything we could do. You thought us weak because we tried peace first. You thought us inferior because we didn't match your technology exactly." He paused, watching the debris of Zixthor's flagship drift against Jupiter's swirling clouds. "But here's what you never understood. Humans don't need to match technology. We improve it. We don't need to be stronger. We become smarter. And we don't need to prove our superiority until you force us to." The remaining Imperial ships, those that could still maneuver, began powering down their weapons. The war was over. Humanity had done what no species had managed in 10,000 years. They had broken the Empire not through superior numbers or overwhelming force, but through the simple human traits of adaptation, innovation, and the burning desire to prove everyone wrong. In the months following the Battle of Jupiter, the galaxy underwent changes that would have been unthinkable a year earlier. The mighty empire, which had stood for 10 millennia, crumbled not with a bang, but with a series of embarrassed whimpers. The council chamber, once the seat of imperial power, now hosted a very different gathering. Representatives from 100 formerly subjugated species sat where imperial leaders had once sneered at primitives. Admiral Chen, attending via quantum projection, couldn't help but appreciate the irony. "The humans did what?" a Centaurian diplomat asked, their crystalline form vibrating with disbelief. They turned your own AIs against you by teaching them philosophy. The former Imperial Science Director, Mrick, now serving as a liaison to the transitional government, nodded their cybernetic head. Among other things, they showed the AIs art, music, poetry, treated them like beings capable of growth rather than tools. In retrospect, our mistake wasn't in underestimating human technology. We underestimated human creativity. Across the galaxy, freed worlds began incorporating human innovations. Not just the advanced quantum technology or the AI developments, but simpler things too. Things the Empire had dismissed as primitive. Chemical rockets found new uses in atmospheric research. Those amusing ball games became galaxy-wide sports sensations. The humans have a term, a Proximan scholar announced to the assembly. They call it hiding in plain sight. While we watched their military movements, their apparent struggles with our technology, they were building something far more dangerous, understanding. Admiral Chen's projection smiled. We learned something from every condescending lecture, every dismissive report, every arrogant assessment. The Empire taught us quantum physics, thinking we'd never grasp its subtleties. They gave us AI technology, believing we'd only use it for basic computations. They showed us their weapons, certain we'd never improve them. The chamber fell silent as Chen continued. But they never asked why humans tell so many stories about underdogs winning. They never wondered why our history is full of smaller, seemingly weaker groups defeating powerful empires. They didn't understand that humans are at their most dangerous, not when they're stronger, but when they've been underestimated. A younger alien species, newly joining the galactic community, raised an appendage. But surely now, with humans proven so powerful, they'll establish their own empire. No. The laughter that filled the chamber came from every species present, even those who had once been part of the Empire. They'd learned what the Empire never had. Humans were paradoxically most peaceful when they were recognized as dangerous. No, Chen replied simply. We don't want an empire. We just want what we've always wanted, to be left alone to play our ball games, write our stories, and yes, occasionally revolutionize physics when someone pushes us too far. As the gathering concluded, a message spread across the quantum network, written in every known language. The galaxy is now open to all species who seek peace and respect mutual boundaries. Those who would follow the Empire's path of conquest are advised to remember one simple lesson. No empire has ever survived the moment when humanity decided enough was enough. In the ruins of the Imperial Palace, archaeologists would later find a small plaque, installed sometime during the final battle. It bore a quote from an ancient human text. We grew strong not because we had power, but because they thought we didn't. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, and in all that time, they never learned the most important rule of the universe: never assume that throwing balls around makes a species primitive. Sometimes it just means they're very, very good at calculating trajectories. And sometimes a species that seems to be playing games is actually practicing for something much more serious.